We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joy in my house, joy, I got joy. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. A reality show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one is insignificant who shares.
I'm joined here by author of Shaped by the Master's Hand, Lolita Robinson, and my co-host.
Well, how are you doing today?
Welcome to another day of Joy in My House.
Welcome to another day. I am so blessed today that I feel better. My sinuses have been, for 2 weeks, have been really giving me a hard time.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know if I could come last night, and I thought, but you know what? I'm going to press on. The enemy's a lie. So here I am. Glad that I'm not sitting there, nursing an earache and it's horrible. But other than that, how are you?
You know what? I'm struggling too.
Okay.
I'm a little older, a little slower, like I tell my fighters. And
yeah, you're in there with those young boys, huh?
And some of these, even our guest today, he's one of my clients, and I train him and his wife.
That's right.
Even keeping up with them is making me.
Oh my gosh, that's right. So what do you have to do to keep yourself limber and fit?
I have to spend time at the gym. I teach about 16 clients a week. And I go through them, and they want the same intensity every session. They don't know that I just taught 5 sessions before them. But then I got to get in there.
Right.
And I got to train at least 3 times a week. And
well, when do you have time to kind of like de-stress? I think we should do a show on stressing.
We should.
Because they say sinuses from stress. My mother's been to rehab. I'm raising my niece. Plus, I'm going through some court things, and I'm working with dementia patients at this point. I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to think of times to take care of ourselves. We learn that in program. So I'm not doing the acting out with the addictions and crazy stuff.
Same
here.
But
now life can get busy. So what do you do to de-stress?
For me, it's working out. Me getting in the gym, it's almost like therapeutic for me. I zone out. I just focus. I'm able to be selfish. It's about me. When I'm teaching, it's about my clients. Everything that I've learned, I want to give to them.
And it's relaxing to sit there and punch bags and hop around and lift weights. And I guess so.
Yeah. It's a transcends my aggression. It transcends my resentment, my anger.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have to do the emotional work too, and that's where program comes into play.
Right.
And then my spiritual work, where hearing a message comes into play. I got to be balanced. I used to say I go to church to hear a sermon. I go to recovery for my emotional, but then I also have to be physical. And for me, I train.
I should, after my foot injury, I should maybe pick up a little bit of walking again, get back into that, because it's so important to take care of ourselves. And I've kind of forgotten that this last 2 weeks. So
it really is. Yeah. It really is. And it's hard, especially we're so busy nowadays.
Yeah,
and
balancing people. I have
children,
an elderly parent, and, you have
relationships.
children and
I have 3 kids, a granddaughter. I mean.
Yeah, you do. And then I'm praying for a husband. I must be crazy. Oh, that's all right. I'd just like to get here and hear about your stuff. So I'm excited today. And last week was really amazing what we did.
Last week was an amazing show. We had Ashley Trevino.
I know.
She's my girlfriend, but she's also the founder of Limitless Ministries.
And she's awesome.
And we talked about surrender.
And she did a live Facebook chat, right? Or is that what it's called?
Yes, they go live on Facebook.
She said she got a lot of people who were, impressed by it. Mm-hmm. I think surrender is something that I'm constantly having to deal with.
We always talk about in program, it's a process.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
we don't arrive in this.
No.
It's a growing process all the time, and we find out having to surrender different in different areas of our life. Like I said, we were talking about surrendering the big things. So we surrender the marriage, we surrender the divorce, we surrender our children. But then our everyday battles, do you surrender the little things?
Right.
And I think for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it's the day-to-day things that get to me. Not the big thing. The big things I know, hey, I can't control it anyways. God, you got it.
Right.
But those little things, those day in and day out, are the ones that wear me out.
I think that's the most challenging thing. I was telling my son, I thought, walking with the Lord, that my big, standing, going in mission field, standing against the enemy, it's been harder to just do laundry.
Right.
And do the mundane stuff, and I want to do the big things. I want to be on stage again and sing, and God is saying, no, I want you to sit here, and I want you to take care of this child. I want you to take care of this elderly person. I want you to clean.
Well,
I want you to. This is not glorious. This is not famous. This is not what I call ministry,
Right.
and that's where God is really dealing with me, and that's really been a struggle.
Luckily, I've been able to give that over, especially
Right.
with this show. We have this amazing show, this amazing platform, with these amazing guests.
Right.
And I thought God was going to take us, give us some big sponsor, put us on the OWN channel, on Oprah, and have all this fan base and this influence. But you know what? Every time a guest comes here, they
Yeah.
minister directly to me.
Yeah, they
and
do.
they remind me. You audience and viewers get the opportunity to be a
Yeah.
part of it. But let me tell you, being here and listening to their
That's
stories
been a whole lot.
touch me every
And he's
time.
taught us a lot about faithfulness,
Yeah.
showing up. It's hard to do this. Be faithful in the little, and I'll exhort you in much. He was showing me the little things that you're faithful in, you keep showing up in, goes to show me that I can do more in your life. But my God, I'm stressed now. So I think I'm praising the Lord. I'm happy that
Exactly.
right where I am.
We're happy right where we're at because that's where God wants us.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we
So,
have a great show for you today, ladies
I
and
can't
gentlemen.
wait.
I want you to link up with us on Facebook /Join My House. If you click the like button, you become a fan. You receive up-to-date lineups of guests and information. We also have a Twitter page where you can tweet us with any questions or comments for ourselves or our
Right.
guests.
Mhm.
You can also follow us on Instagram. We have an Instagram /Join My House.
I tell you,
And I got to
do you
maintain
get,
all
you
that.
get anything from Instagram? I don't keep up with any of
I
it.
don't go on the app enough. I should more, but I don't do it
Okay.
enough. But
All
we do
right.
have an Instagram page where we post
Okay.
pictures up of our guests. So
Okay,
it's an amazing
great.
thing, opportunity. But we have a great show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. In studio guest, his name is Dr. John Shieh. He is the CEO and medical director at RejuvaYou Medical Center.
I've heard of that.
He's been
Wow.
on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Entertainment Tonight, Forbes Magazine, MTV. You're not going to want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to come right back.
Are you in pain? Don't wait. Call 81.
Hi, this is Marsha Waiteka, inviting you to join me every Monday at 1 p.m. for Born to Talk, where conversation plus connections equal community. Starting Monday, April the 13th, be sure to tune in to Born to Talk with Marsha Waiteka, Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also listen live at iTunes Radio R&B, TuneIn Radio, Radio Flag, Live 365, or AHA Radio. This is reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. We are LA Talk Live, and we are born to talk.
Hey y'all, it's Jackie Elam, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and Hollywood set mom. Tune in to America Talk Live on latalklive.com every Saturday at 12 noon Pacific to check out my new show, Jackie Elam Live, premiering Saturday, September 10th. I will reveal the world of child performers and various forms of entertainment for all ages. My guest and I are going to empower and educate you with helpful stories, topics, and advice about the showbiz. This is going to be a fun-filled hour, so don't forget to tune in to Jackie Elam Live every Saturday, 12 noon Pacific on latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality show with a touch of recovery. I'm joined here by recording artist Lolita Robinson, my co-host,
Let's get started. I can't wait.
and our in-studio guest,
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. John Shieh. Welcome
Yay.
to today's show. You are the CEO and founder of RejuvaYou Medical Center out in Pasadena. Welcome
Yes.
to the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
real
glad
honor that
to
you came
be
today. Thank you.
We always like to let our audience and viewers know how we met, how we got in contact. And it's an interesting story because I trained some clients out of Pasadena whose also name is John Hui. I trained his family, his daughter, his son, his wife, and I trained him as well. and they invited me to come on a boat to go fishing with them. So we went on a fishing trip out of Long Beach, and I met you for the first time.
You were on the trip?
Yes.
Oh,
You were on the
okay.
trip with your young son, Valen.
Right.
How old was Valen at the time? Because he was very small. He was young.
He was probably about 4.
Yeah, about 4 years
at the
old.
time.
And how old is he now?
6.
He's 6?
and a half.
Okay.
So that was 2 years
so
ago.
you guys
Wow.
have known each other,
Well, no, we just met that day.
Okay.
And what was interesting is after the fishing trip, and it's a long fishing trip, you're exhausted after the trip.
Yeah.
Valen went to sleep. He put Valen in his car seat in the car, and we just started chatting.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is our faith came up,
Wow.
and we talked. I'm gonna say it's an hour, but I think we spoke for like 2 hours
Yeah.
in the back of his, just sitting in the back of his truck, just talking.
Mm-hmm.
And you had an opportunity to share some of the amazing things that God has done in your father's life, but in your life as well, which actually set the foundation for your faith.
Oh, this is
Yes.
exciting. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Well, that's amazing. Well, I wanted to touch on that because it's amazing how Christians, and I don't want to say all Christians, but when we really love God, it resonates in us.
Mm-hmm.
It oozes out of us.
Yeah.
We're so
Your
in
spirits
love.
are attracted to one another.
Yeah, and we just started talking. It had nothing to do with the show. Had nothing to do with.
Mhm.
We just started fellowshipping,
And
it
this was 2
amazing.
years ago?
2 years ago.
And look how God is, and then you're here today.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had no idea. We're just fishing. Here's another guy on the boat. I don't know who these people are. They come
Okay.
on the boat fishing with
Oh,
them.
so you didn't know the weeds? Well, you
No,
did know
I
the
do
weeds.
them.
Okay.
I knew them, but then I don't know his other guests.
Okay.
So I just
well,
figured,
see, God
say,
knew, and that's what's so important.
yeah, say
Yeah.
hi to somebody.
Yeah.
I didn't even had no idea his background. Just figured nice guy.
Oh.
At the end, just you just don't. You just got to be open to that. Sometimes the Holy Spirit or something moves you, and you just start talking, start sharing something. It doesn't mean you're always trying to talk to a non-Christian person.
Right.
Sometimes it's just edifying each other and fellowshipping and backing each other up.
And then the Lord bringing you for our show. This is I can't wait to hear this.
Well, what was interesting is that you
Yeah.
shared about what happened in your father's process because he was sick, and you guys were there.
Yeah, so I can get into it more, but
Yeah, okay.
basically my
However-
father was diagnosed with cancer when he was about 56 years old.
When was this? How long ago?
This is in 1992
Okay.
when I was in medical school. And a few years later, they'd taken it out, it recurred, and they said, there's no treatment for this. You have 14 months to live. You could get hospice. And it was a long process. There was a study. They tested something out, gave him a few more years. Then they said, it's over. You're going to die. Get hospice. And then he seeks some other alternative treatments. And it's this long process. And after about 17 years later.
What?
17 years
Wow,
later.
he's still
Well,
with us.
Right. So there was another study drug. They gave him 7 years. And so he ended up getting about 17 years. The tumor came back. They said, it's finally over. And my dad says, I've had a full life.
So
I
he
think
was
I'm ready
ready.
to
Okay.
go. It's okay. I don't have to fight anymore. We're all praying for him. There's a lot of people that know him. And, during this period of time, he's spoken at churches and shared his
Wow.
testimony. People would call from around the United States just to talk to him that had cancer.
I've had a lot of dealings with cancer. My husband and brother died from cancer, so I know that's a miracle. That's a huge miracle.
So it was so long. And then then they finally said it's finally over.
Mm-hmm.
You may not go home. And people were praying for him. There was a retreat out in Hawaii, and they were fasting and praying for him. People in South Africa,
Wow.
New Zealand,
Look at
everywhere were praying for him. Back home in Texas, and the next day, again a series of events that already would be miraculous because all your doors are closed. And we're crying all night. It's the worst time in your life that you could imagine
Yeah.
because my dad's finally going to die. And the next day, by the end of the day, the tumor is gone and disappeared, and he's feeling better. We get him out of the hospital. A few months later, he looks better. He regains all his weight. We didn't do any treatment. He just suddenly kept improving. His friends back in Texas said, "Ed, you look better than you did 5 years ago."
Oh,
And he's looking at them,
goodness.
says, "I had a miracle. There was a miracle, and I was cured."
I wonder
and
if he
so-
has a healing ministry. You think that, or to pray for
Well,
people, or
And so he did. He touched a lot of people through this whole
wow.
process. 2 years later, he got sick with something unrelated, and before they could actually treat it, they were putting a nasogastric tube, NG tube, down his nose to his stomach, and it gagged him, caused him to vomit, went in his lungs. The next day, he stopped breathing, and a month later, he passed away.
Oh, you're kidding.
So this
is really ironic.
We think of it as irony, and you look at it and we think, well, what are we really here for? Was it that he needed that miracle so he could go on that cruise, which he did? He went to Taiwan and toured the island for a whole month. I asked him, how are your classmates, that class reunion you had from National Taiwan University?
Wow.
And these are all 75-year-olds. He says, a lot of them already passed away, or they're too sick and weak. And I'm thinking, and you're the guy that at 18, 19 years ago was diagnosed with cancer. And so was it so he can do that and go fishing more? I look at it, and it was really to just set the foundation for my family, my brother, my sister, myself, and my kids, our future generations, the legacy, to say, hey, look, this is a real God that's a living God right now. This is not just a great philosophy.
There you go.
It's a good philosophy to live by, and so might as well pick one. It's beyond that. I remember back in high school, my mom told me, we were in a Taiwanese church, and she says, hey, John, see that lady over, that old lady in our Taiwanese church? This is probably like 1980s, right? She had cancer, and she didn't want to get the treatment, so she prayed about it, and she was cured. And I thought, I'm like, that's a language barrier problem, right? We're in Texas, Taiwanese, she didn't understand. That's what I'm thinking. I'm a Christian at the time, and I'm in medical school, or going to medical school.
Oh, right.
But somehow, why didn't I just accept that, there was a miracle? Because maybe sometimes we put God in this box, I don't know, that's comfortable. Because if this God is real, and he is, then what are you going to do? Then how are you going to live your life at that point? And so God was showing me, he already showed us the miracles of somebody who kept fighting, had the faith for years and years and years, even though we knew we were supposed to die. And just kept fighting and said, I just feel something different. He never cursed God to say, why did you give me this cancer? Why at age 57, I have to have this terminal, not like, you have chemo and 80%. It was like, you have
terminal cancer.
Terminal, 14 months, no treatment.
Wow.
And he got 19 years.
And the faith that he had to go through, even to just endure and go through that. Well, I was thinking, you said you're in medical school, so that's got to be kind of like the opposite of what Christianity is, isn't it? To a certain degree, you're not prone for miracles and
right. That's the tough part,
right.
And that's the challenge. Maybe all of this was happening. But at the end of my life, I'll look back and we see God's big plan. But I can see it was happening right about that time.
Right. I'm
in medical school. Now your dad has cancer. I'm in residency, and then they say your dad's cancer is metastasized and he's not going to live.
No, when they say that, they know. I've known 8 people who have gone. When they tell you, they know. So that was the Lord, totally.
And it molded my practice, the way I treated patients. Most of the time, the doctors, I would have these patients in the ICU, intensive care unit, and I'm their primary doctor, trying to manage their care. And I'm just hanging on to every thread. Everything's balancing on the edge of a knife. It can go one way or the other by just one little thing. And at least that's how I feel. And these doctors, older doctors, say, hey, what are you doing with this patient?
They're not gonna live anyway,
you should
right?
get the family to DNR, do not resuscitate. That way we can just
move on.
Let them, when they stop breathing, just let it go, and let's get somebody else in the ICU. I'm thinking, no, I have to hang on here. It was just a different philosophy.
God gave you a real heart
for
your patients, for the not just another patient, but a heart because of what you went through with your dad.
It's because I kept seeing that there's got to be a possibility. There might be this other plan for you, for them. I had a patient who, in my waiting room before I could see her, had a code blue, stopped breathing. I went there, had to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Paramedics took her into the ICU over at Good Samaritan Hospital. She was on life support. After about a week or 2 weeks, the doctors, the other specialists said, there's no brain, the heart's all messed up, and really you need to just convince the family, let her go. So I was an early young doctor at the time. I thought, all right. So I reluctantly had that conversation with them. I still remember walking in that Tuesday morning to the ICU at Good Samaritan Hospital thinking, I have to unplug this patient.
Wow.
And the family agreed. So I go in there and I look and I'm thinking, where's my patient? What happened? Because I'm like, that's not her. That's not her. I was like, I thought it's this room. So I asked the nurses, did you move her? It says, no, she's right there.
Oh my God.
I was like, wait,
what?
What happened? And they said, oh, you didn't hear. Oh, we meant that we were trying to page you. I forgot. They said, but she woke up this morning, pulled her tubes out and sat up and started complaining that she was hungry.
Oh, wow. You know what? This is
God,
turning into that.
yeah, God was
people s-
preparing you. God was preparing your heart
Wow.
for what you do now, for your future, the life that you're gonna lay down for your family, for your children, your wife, and the legacy that your children are now gonna do, because of God working in your life from since then.
You
And I
know,
think he's also talking on something that I didn't plan to go in this direction, but assisted suicide. I'm not going to say anything for or pro, but I think you are, maybe someone out there is thinking about doing that. God may have a bigger plan.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because look at this. One of the big things I want to touch on was you can get dealt a bad hand,
Right.
and people always complaining, this is not fair. I was born too short.
Mm-hmm.
I was the wrong color. I was the wrong sex, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And or just born in the wrong neighborhood, something like that. And that's not fair. And then complain about their whole life. So my dad gets dealt this hand. Hey, you have terminal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Go lay down and die. All the experts are telling you, just
Give it
get
up.
hospice. They'll take care of your pain till you die.
Mm-hmm.
Settle your finances, something. But that wasn't his plan that God had for him. In fact, God was going to use him to share his story, his sense of perseverance, of faith, that
that's what I'm listening
of possibility.
to. That's what I'm listening to.
And then towards the end of and I think we're all here to figure, to touch other people's lives. I mean, our real self is our spiritual side, and we have this whole eternity, and this is just a little small part of it to decide, well, do we want to follow God or not, and what are we going to do for each other? And I think God just used him to touch lives, share his testimony with people. I mean, he wasn't a perfect person. I mean, he's not a saint.
We're not hearing that, but
No, he wasn't a saint by anything like that.
God has a plan. So someone out there today, you might be thinking that, like what Dr. Shieh was just saying, God has a plan. You don't know.
And it could be a bigger plan that we can't
Yeah.
even fathom at this point. But let's talk a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch on it very
That's
quickly.
powerful. No, but that was enough. Well, goodbye. I mean, that was great right there.
Where did you grow up, Dr. Shieh?
I was born in Chicago.
Hey, me too. All right. All right.
Chicago. Yeah, my parents came from
Okay.
Taiwan
All right.
in the 60s for graduate school, University of Illinois Champaign.
Okay.
And my dad was in finance. We were born in Chicago. And there was an American family, a host family that kind of took us in, and she was a Christian. She invited us to her church when we were little. I don't know much about that. I just remember
Right.
seeing pictures of me in a suit when
Going
we go
to
to church.
Okay.
And my parents would send me to a preschool that was run by the church, and I thought this was good. I mean, they weren't Christian at the time, but
God
I remember when they got baptized.
Wow.
And that was back in the 70s. That was in, it was because of just a family that was really,
Open their hearts to you, to your family.
it was just great to us. And we lived there for a few years. When I was about 7 years old, moved to Dallas. We were in Dallas. We got the community, the Taiwanese community.
Okay, is there a
and
big community in Dallas?
There wasn't at
Okay.
that time, but
there is
we
now?
had to get together because the history of Taiwan, the people coming over, it's a whole other story and of struggle and everything. But a lot of these people were also people who came for graduate school, and so we would get together with them, and my parents helped start a church there, a Taiwanese church.
Oh, how beautiful.
Wow.
So because
Was your father pastor or just
no,
to
he was.
fund and to be behind it and support
Yeah,
it?
he became an elder. Sometimes he would share. I
Oh.
remember he'd get up and speak and talk about, do not worry, and talk about the things
He
that
sure talked about
some-
it. He lived it.
certain things, and he would talk about those things. I remember him as a speaker. He would just get up and talk. I'm like, oh, that's my dad talking. And but we started the church, and that helped bring the community together. Eventually, we moved to Houston when I was junior high,
And your brothers and sisters, I know you mentioned.
yeah, we're all 1 year apart. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I'm the oldest. My brother is James.
Okay.
So John, James. And my
Sarah?
sister's Jean.
Jean? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but they got Christian names,
Yes,
for
they
us,
do.
John, James, brothers, and very close. They brought us up very close to each other.
Well, what I wanted to touch on and ask was, do you remember accepting Christ as your Lord and Savior? Everybody has such a unique story how they come to Christ.
That's a
Can
good
you
question.
remember?
Yeah,
When you came to
definitely.
Christ.
It's again, we're growing up, going to the church things, and you learn the stories, but. Yeah, it's just interesting stories, and I could recite them. But then I remember I was about to go into high school, and we went on a retreat for the youth group, and we had stopped by, look at the university in Austin, Texas, and we were at the Lakeway.
It's beautiful there.
Yeah, by Lake Travis.
Yeah.
And I remember just one night talking to one of the older youth. It was actually the pastor's son, and he just framed everything reframed everything of our beliefs. It's like, this is what we believe in. This is our sin. This is what separates us from God, and this is what we need to do.
In a way that was really relatable for you.
Yeah. Then suddenly it was literally, I thought, wait, I've been learning these stories and I
never saw it this way.
This way.
It came to life.
Then it came alive, and
Mm-hmm.
there really is a change that happens to you right there. And on the drive back from Austin back to Houston, I remember that, and the trees look greener. The sky is bluer. The flowers, everything is more colorful. And I know on the medical side that emotionally, spiritually, these things affect our visual fields and how we detect things. So these are all real things. It's not just like in our head.
You're kidding.
We really do.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, the way we sense color can be expanded or constricted based on our emotional, intellectual, and depending on how your brain is working at that time, it can change. And it's actually easily tested. We can just have you look at this paper. We can test your visual color fields and see where they are. Sometimes there's a red and green and blue. If your red is bigger than everything else, then emotionally you're probably more balanced and at peace. But if the red is like really constricted in there, emotionally probably you're under some stress.
Oh my goodness.
Mine will be a red dot.
Oh wow. I told you about my sinuses, so let's not. No, but what you were saying, so when the peace of God that came in your life, His presence
became physiological.
You saw life in a different perspective.
Yeah, and so when people tell you that, and you hear it all the time, it's a real physiological change. And the emotional things that go on, the spiritual things that go on, definitely affect us. Earlier at the beginning of the show, you guys were talking about stress and managing stress, and I was listening to that, and I thought, something, where you're like, oh, maybe I'll go do this and do some exercise. The stress that you have is not just here in your brain and it makes you feel a certain way. Literally, it affects the hormones in your body, the way your body metabolizes its hormones. And some of these metabolites, what it breaks down your hormones into, are actually very bad for us. They can cause cancer.
I said, my sinuses have been crazy. And it really can. It really can. Like you're saying, even the cancer, the whole gamut, what you were just sharing?
Well, the stress we have affects our cortisol levels. There's a whole physiological thing. It's not just, my body will be okay if I let my mind be a certain way. Even in our circles, in the anti-aging bioidentical hormone replacement, we're looking at stuff. And I remember we were looking at something that said people that are really stressed, and if you can do these, we can test them for it. And if their cortisol levels are just sky high, they're just under a lot of stress. First treatment, I remember at our symposium, on the big screen up there, it wasn't take this drug or that drug. It was actually prayer, meditation.
Wow. And I have not been, you know what, thanks a lot. Conviction of the Holy Spirit. That's awesome what you're saying, because I have not had my prayer time like I usually do, my meditation time. Thank you. That was well said.
Me and my girlfriend, we talk about prayer time. We take time every day out of our busy schedule to pray.
That's
it sets up my day. If I don't pray, and I'll be in a rush to go to my next client's house, and I say, I go to a little Catholic church, I get on my knees, and I always praise God, and I thank Him, I give Him my resentment, my fears, my anger, but I have to do that just to continue on my day. Wow. I can go in the morning, when I'm in the gym, and I can sustain through my own will, but eventually, I got to get to that church and pray just to get me through the rest of my day. So I agree with that. I think prayer and that slowing down and that stopping is definitely mentally, physically.
You said a lot today.
Yeah. The physical part of that, it's just critical.
Well, I wanted to go back to forming your faith. Yeah. Because you were in medical school at the time. You're learning.
I need to ask, what, when medical school, were you wanting to be a surgeon? Did you know at that time what kind of medicine you wanted to go into? Because it seems like to me you're in cosmetic now, right?
Yeah, I don't like to call it cosmetic, but people might misinterpret
that. Right, okay.
But I went to medicine. Actually, I always kind of wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
Growing up in Chicago, the Field Museum, all the right? So the arts, all those things that you're exposed to can stimulate your interest for the sciences. I remember seeing the mummies at the Chicago Field Museum, and I'm thinking, mummy, that was a person how many 1,000 years ago or a few thousand years ago. embalmed in this, right there looking at him, and you're just wondering what's
How did that
happening with the
happen?
body
Yeah.
and
That's
stuff.
funny.
You were
huh?
interested right after
Yeah,
right
really.
after
Yeah,
that.
but those things, affect you, and so
Well, that's what I wanted to touch on
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
during your college, and the next question is, were you always driven to go to college? But you were going to college. You're driven. Your interest is in becoming a doctor in medical.
Yeah.
But regarding your father and how that formed your faith as you're going through medical school, it must have been difficult, a challenge. Faith is pulling you one way, and then logic or science is pulling you in another way. How was that throughout that time?
it could be that way. But I remember even in college, and I remember taking this genetics course, and it was the genetics class that was going to be everybody said that is the hardest class. It's going to kick your, it's just, you're just not going to make it. And the teacher gets up there and says, this is a hard class. If you're this is of course an upper division class. I had placed out of a lot of classes in high school. So when I went to college, I kind of jumped ahead with a lot of credit. I was almost a junior when I started college. My
So
first year,
you
'cause
were very
Very studious.
Very
yeah, so I
studious.
had a lot of advanced
Gifted,
placement
you're
credit.
gifted, yeah.
So I went there and I thought, oh, I'm still a freshman, and this lady is saying you should be a junior. But if you just recently transferred to this school and you're a junior, you should drop my class because you have other things to deal with. This is a tough
Wow.
class. And I thought, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? I keep I'm thinking, oh, I should just take the hardest classes right now. And I prepared myself for it. So I actually did really well in that class. But I remember that she was talking about certain things, the mitochondria and inside the cells, and they're starting to say something about an evolution thing. But I thought, actually, you just gave me a lot of information that I could point back to one common
That's right.
creator of all this stuff. Not that,
Wow.
and so it's just depends how you want to twist. So I looked at it, this does not
This
change.
proves to you.
This doesn't change my faith. All these things are reinforcing my belief.
Wow.
And so in medical school, I was still connected to a church. Sometimes I would drive an hour to get back from Galveston to
blessing.
Houston
What a
to go to
blessing.
church. And I was very tied in with that.
What a great perspective and what a
Yeah.
great foundation
I love
that
that.
you weren't challenged. It was actually reinforcing. I saw the Truth Project. They were doing it for Bible study.
Right.
And
I
that
know.
Truth Project, when it talked to the evolution and how it confirmed one creator, was so interesting and profound to me because my father, being a physics professor, was still very faithful. He believed in God. He said there's certain things that you will not be able to prove. That's what faith is.
Right.
And when he gave me that understanding, I got it. Because we're, as humans, want to control and manipulate everything and have an answer for everything.
Right,
There's
right.
not always an answer that we understand.
That's right.
And it's okay.
That's beautiful.
So what a
But-
perspective.
See, but the challenge happened after I finished medical school and moved to California.
Oh boy.
All right, let's
the
talk
land of
about
the
that.
beautiful.
So you come to LA, and I didn't know what they were talking about when people in Texas was like, "Oh, where are you going for your residency?" "Oh, Los Angeles," and they would say, "Why would you go there?"
And
for
why did you
residency-
want to come here?
for
Well,
residency?
my
That's
relatives lived. I visited
Okay.
them all the time,
Okay.
and it speaks to some struggles I had before because
Okay.
growing up in Texas or even Chicago, I remember when my parents, you go into the supermarket
Yeah.
and then there's some kids, people there, and they start
mocking you.
Oh,
mocking,
wow.
trying to pretend they're speaking Chinese and
Oh,
just
wow.
making fun of.
Chicago's very segregated.
So we have that, and
You know,
Dallas,
Dallas,
Same thing.
Texas,
I bet,
Houston.
Yeah.
It's.
I never thought of it. I know
Did you-
from the black perspective, but not from your perspective. Okay. So,
There were just so few of us, and on
Yeah.
one hand, in the Taiwanese or the church, I was a leader, right? The
Yeah.
other kids, the teachers, they'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna, have you, we're gonna nominate you to be on the committee, one of the Presbyterian church committees of the governing body." I was like, "Oh, at 16," I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
So, and then I would,
You were participating. You were a leader.
participate. People respected each other. It was great.
And
Then
you
I go to
did.
school.
Yeah.
And it's a whole
and
different thing.
I do well, I whatever academically, but I remember sitting there. It was an art class at probably I was like 7th, 8th grade or something, and the kids, no, you can't sit here anymore. And you're like, what? Okay, and then so I sit somewhere because I'm
then they
supposed to
come
sit
there.
there,
So you
and
were
then
bullied?
and then I get kicked in the back so hard I get knocked off the bench, and you're in
Wow.
excruciating pain. You get up, you're just like, oh my gosh, you're just trying to, and then somebody comes up, in high school.
man.
But anyway, a lot of stuff,
So
bullying.
you had a lot of bullying.
So that stuff would happen.
Right.
Is that what forged maybe your interest to coming to LA because we're so multicultural
And then
here?
I don't blame
I would
you.
visit my
Yeah.
cousins out here,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, wait, you mean? I look at the yearbook or something. Wait, you mean your in crowd happens to be Asian? They're like, why not?
It's very
I was like,
true.
well, you guys, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah,
and I go back
yeah.
home, and there's this struggle all the time.
Right.
That's
and-
true. You said a mouthful. That's true.
And you could either take that, and I've seen that. You hear about bad cases where kids that get bullied a lot end up resorting to violence at their
Right.
school, or you could take it and what can I turn it into? And so when I look back, by God's grace, I had heard His word before in the past, and then at least something was to hold on to, kind of as a foundation, so that I looked at it and I thought, I have to turn this around. That anger, the resentment, just put it towards I have to succeed. I have to succeed and one day show people. I don't know. So there's this drive to succeed and make
Well,
it
I can
past it,
understand
overcome.
that. I can absolutely understand that. I think that's fantastic. And obviously you've done so, but you haven't lost your heart. And I can feel the Spirit of the Lord working through you, that you took what Satan meant for evil and you have made a blessing, and you can understand other people's lives.
So I remember I was interviewing for residency programs, and I'm already racist in my mind, not against white or the non-Asian, but I'm almost, if you think about it, I was almost racist against Asians too, just because it was the way you think. So I go to my interview and I look and I see that there's already one Asian person in the program, and I'm thinking, not a chance. I won't get in. And I'm interviewing in Texas, right? So I'm thinking that way. I come to California, right? And I'm interviewing, and I look around and I see 5 guys that are Asian interviewing for this spot. And I'm looking at them and thinking, oh my gosh, we're not going to get in. Right? That's my thinking. Of course, I'm completely wrong, but I had already adopted that way of thinking.
So, okay, well, I'm trying to understand. So you felt like they only take one Asian is enough in the group? Is that what you were saying?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
Isn't that funny? Because
there's no rule against it, but we think that way.
That's kind of the black
And-
experience too. I'm glad you're saying this.
Yeah.
When you
You know?
get skewed and when you get hurt, no matter
Yeah.
for what reasons, whether it's your size, your color,
Yeah.
your faith, once you get that persecution, it can go either way. Like you said, you can get resentful and hurtful, or some people like yourself use it to persevere and said, now I have to succeed because I don't want that to happen to me continually. So you come to LA, you had these challenges.
Did you guys get in? Did the 5 guys get in?
Well, I don't know what happened then, but
but I know what happened.
but I did make it to California.
Okay.
It was one of my top picks. I was at White Memorial Hospital in
Where's that?
it's in downtown LA.
Downtown,
It's
okay.
A little bit East LA. It's a inner city,
Okay.
underserved area, and it was great training there. Now, so what happens is the
you're not-
racism is to me is like nothing now.
in comparison, yeah.
Because
So
that's more of a
then-
Hispanic community there, right?
Yeah, and so the oppression was lifted, and it was great. But then I couldn't go to church because you work Sundays.
Wow.
And then I didn't know how to find a church. And if you're not consistent, you can't get plugged in, and you can show up here and there, and you'll never feel part of it. So literally for years, I did not have a church. And I thought, that's okay. I grew up in it, and I've been baptized. I think I can do this on my own. I can do my own church.
There you go.
Wow.
And if you look back,
Yeah.
well, as you know,
Yeah.
this is not correct, because I hear that from people. Oh, I don't have to go to a church. I believe in
got
God.
it together, yeah.
Yeah.
But you need the fellowship, you need the accountability. God never meant it to be that way. There's a reason there's this body of the church with the different hands and the the feet, the different parts of the church. You can't do it alone, because during that time, now that I look back, I can see that I was
disconnected.
I was faltering. I was losing. The enemy was chipping away at me. And if you think about it, and I try to share with people, maybe you think, okay, I can know a little bit of God. I don't really need him that much.
Especially here in California, all the beautiful people. Did you get into the party scene? I'm nosy.
Well, sure, I did. I went to the parties. I had a friend that said, hey, are you free? I'm like, okay, I don't know anybody. And you take me out. We go out. I never did anything, that I would regret.
No,
but still, I would go out because I just
Yeah.
figured I need to see what this is about. But what you saw was materialism. And in some respects, before I got plugged into a church again, I was going out a lot, and then I finished my residency. I started a practice.
Oh boy, and you had some money.
And the practice, when they said you can't do a practice, I said I have to believe I can, and we were able to. In the first year, I had 4 offices.
Why did they say you couldn't have a practice? Because of your...
They said you just won't survive. I think the practice where I did
competitive.
Yeah, and the residency program that I was at, they had a few offices in the area. I don't think they wanted the competition. I heard there was actually, they didn't like that, and so a lot of the residents were being sent away to go work for some other HMO somewhere else. Wow. And I said, no, I'm going to open up right here.
There you go.
In Montebello, East LA, downtown LA by Good Samaritan Hospital. And we had 4 offices in the first year.
Wow.
And people did not, I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was a lot of work, but we could make it happen. Just believing in that possibility of doing that. And so in some respects, I bought a house.
And where did the wife come in? Because we got a lot of could cover.
Yeah.
Where
did you meet her?
Before we go into that, but it's interesting how the success sucks you in. So some people might
is that what you're gonna say? Okay,
yeah.
so let's
people
get
might
there
be
then.
addicted to alcohol, partying, but then they forget, oh, well, this is a positive thing. Being successful. Hey, what's wrong with that?
So I thought,
that sounds exciting to me.
I'm thinking, I'm Christian in my own church thing, and I don't have to go to church. And I get the house. There were some big parties.
Oh yeah.
I had the fancy Mercedes convertible.
What were you driving?
Right? It was a Mercedes SL 500.
Wow.
Right. Okay. So I don't even know if I would even buy a car like that right now anymore. But but at the
that's
time,
right,
it was my first car. I had my own practice, 4 offices. I had my own.
You were awfully young. How old?
I was by 30, I had the big house, the Mercedes convertible, the 4 offices. So in all respects, it looked like I was this
You have
hotshot.
everything together.
But
So
you
really,
did succeed.
if you think about it, should be pretty good. And maybe people are successful that are listening out there right now, and they're thinking, I don't need that Jesus stuff. That's for those wimpy people who are weak and they have lost it or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that is not the case. You really do need God in your life, and it will set your path straight.
Amen.
There's too many stories of people that can be successful in the world's eyes, and they go the opposite direction. They end up at bottom.
Did you feel empty inside? Because I've heard people say that. I don't know.
There. When I look back, I know there was
Big
probably
moments.
some emptiness there. I was lonely too. People call me the Great Gatsby because I would throw this huge party. 400 people would show up, and I don't know the people. People may not even know who I was.
Well, like we were talking about, that success is an addiction in itself. And it is empty. It is lonely.
because it still sounds exciting to me to kind of inspire to some of this stuff. I haven't obtained all that.
But and then if you're there, why you need God? But what I found was you do need it. And I was wondering, I was like, how come I can't find somebody? Yeah, I date certain people, but there's always something missing, something like that. And I'm like, this is just, and you get frustrated. And somebody said, really, I remember it was somebody from church. They said, you have to make yourself to be that ideal person one day, if you want to find that perfect person. And it's also when you're ready for somebody, God will have that person for you when you're both ready for each other. And it was actually at one of these parties that I threw. It was a Christmas party at my house for my company with the 4 offices, 60 people, employees show up. I mean, it was all these people. And then I opened it up to just friends and whatever. Somebody brought this young lady over, and she showed up. I remember meeting her at the door. It says, "Oh, thank you for coming. Welcome to my home. There's food, there's drinks, music. Make yourself, just have a good time." And I thought, oh, she's really nice, but okay, I'm busy. I have all these guests. The next time I talked to her was, "Hope you had a great time. Thanks for coming." And then as she left, I thought, man, no wonder I'm so late. I don't even know how to say, hey, what? Can I get your number?
Right.
I'm like thinking, okay, I really do not know.
But you were so caught up in the moment of catering to everybody. This big party you're throwing, is everybody happy? Instead of really just focusing on relationship, which is sometimes what we do with God.
That's true. That's
might
totally
not have been
true.
very safe too. Some of the relationships, maybe you're probably hiding more so in that.
That's true, because there's some things that I would run into people. I thought that everybody, because I'm growing up in Texas in the church, I figured if there's an Asian person, it's because they went to church and they were going to go to college and all this stuff.
Right.
And I would come to California, I meet people, and I thought, And next thing I know, I meet somebody and she's talking, and then she whips out a cigarette, and to me that's a shock. And she's thinking, "What? You can't smoke?" And I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, you're smoking?" Much less drugs.
Were you dating
and all
other
this
women beside Asian ladies? Were you, or more?
Not too much.
Okay.
Not really. I
All
just we're so busy all the time.
Right. Okay.
And so, anyway, so she kind of came in and out of my life really quick on that Christmas party at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few months later, I saw her at the Miss Chinatown pageant. She was a contestant.
Oh wow.
And so he took a picture with her, and she remembered me. And
Miss Chinatown. Oh, that's
then
pretty good.
she left out of my life again, and I'm thinking, well,
But I missed it again. I missed the
I was
opportunity.
supposed to. I wasn't smooth. What happened? So a few months after that, a friend of mine said, "Hey, a girl I'm dating has a friend that was in the pageant,
No.
and we're thinking of getting you guys together." I was like, "Oh,
No.
okay. I have nothing going on in my life
I love
anyway."
these stories. Are you
so,
kidding?
So sure. What's her name? Well, her name's Floyd. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's
met
that
Floyd.
girl that I kept missing." And
Oh.
I remember for my Christmas party, I went upstairs to the balcony and I took a picture down at the atrium where everybody's dancing and everybody's just partying and doing their own thing. But there was only one person that looked up at the camera right when that picture was taken. It was
Wow.
this
It was
this glowing
Floyd. Well,
angel,
How do you spell it?
Floy.
Floyd. Oh, how beautiful. See, I love these stories.
And so
So God, if He
brought
wants
us
something,
together.
He brought you guys together.
and at the time, and then then they said, "Oh, by the way, she's 20 years old." And I thought, "Oh man, I don't want immature young people. I'm tired. I'm so tired of all these women in LA. They're just crazy. I can't take them." And now she's that young. And I thought, she was cool. My first impressions were always great. So
Yep.
fine. I have nothing going on Thursday night anyway. We'll just
We'll
double
go out,
date,
have fun.
and we just laughed all night. Then we kind of, called up and said, "Oh, let's have lunch." And then it was weird because then you look back and you thought, wait, I'm not trying. It's not like you're trying like if people are in their dating scene,
There
they're like,
you
"I
go.
gotta, am I on the
Yeah.
game? Oh, she's giving me a
Yeah.
chance. I gotta be on the game." I'm thinking, to
Yeah.
what? To trick her into doing something with you?
There you
What
go.
is the game? Being
There you
being
go.
on.
There you go.
If you're not yourself, forget it. So then I thought, okay, what is going on here?
So
Because
it's just effortless.
and at the time, my dad was very sick, and I was
Mm-hmm.
struggling with what do I do about him. And if I ever brought up my dad's case with anybody else, if I was dating, they would be looking at me like, "Okay, boring.
Right.
What,
Right.
Do we could talk about something?
Can we talk
fun?
about me?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
talk? Can the
What do you
said
mean
it
you're
all.
going to go
There
home
you
to
go.
Texas to see your dad? I mean, do you mean you're not going to be partying and drive around in your Mercedes or something?
right?
I don't know. I'm just generalizing. But when I sat down with her, she would say, "So how's your dad doing?
Mm.
When's the last time you talked to him?"
Wow.
And I'm thinking, last week.
Mm-hmm.
And she had gone through losing her dad when she was in college through cancer. And so
Wow.
she's looking at me thinking, well,
I know
if
what
my
you-
dad was here, I would be talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
I would have called him.
Dr. Shieh,
Right?
that's wow.
And so this person who's 10 years younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
she's still in college, but she's talking to me. And I already have my practice. And she's telling
Talking to
me
the heart, not
the
to
truth.
doctor, to the heart, to the man.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
She's
this is
God
this
sent.
angel that was sent from God to tell me these things and then get that connection with my dad so to support each other. And so when you look at that, I'm thinking, my goodness, it was that
Boy,
that was
God
my
is
soulmate.
something.
And so
Yeah.
God brought her in my life, and turned out then we found out later that her uncle I had met, we knew her uncle in Dallas.
Wow.
Right, Chicago, Dallas, then Houston. But
Isn't
in
that
Dallas, we had
something?
known her uncle and her cousin, and she had grown up going to church and also trying to find
Wow.
her way with it. She wasn't going to a church at the time, but was open to that. And if you think about it, in the same struggle I was,
Right.
she went to USC. She was in a Greek sorority.
Boy, God really.
did-
You know
did
what?
all
What
those
you're
things.
telling me is God knows what He's doing.
Yep.
And so
He
that's
does.
where you really have to learning those things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's this Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. It's like trust in the Lord and basically He'll acknowledge Him in all things that you do, and He'll set your path straight.
Oh, wow.
And so when you look at it that way, I look at it's like, we can't fail if we put God first.
Amen.
So that's where, after getting to know Floyd again, meeting Floyd, I think that's where we started thinking, there's still more to this. We need to bring God into our family.
Amen.
And I think God wanted to just make it
God,
set for us, and that's
God
why
was
through my
using
dad.
both of you.
Gosh, yeah,
to bring
this
them
is a
closer
beautiful
to Him.
story. Yeah, and then
He
to
was
heal someone who went through
Exactly.
what your father, so she would really, could be a comfort, a companion. It's awesome. 'Cause she
Yeah, so
understood.
she-
Unless somebody's been through it, they don't get it.
She lived through that struggle. She said, I would
Yeah.
cry. I would smile with my dad at chemo, so he would keep him in good spirits, and I'd go back to my dorm and cry all night. And people looked at me and didn't understand.
They
said,
don't
"Well,
get it.
But she did.
They didn't get it.
Yeah, and so she'd gone through that, and so that's exactly what I needed in my life at that time. And God just kind of put it together there.
Well,
Well, how
blessings to
soon
you,
after did you
Floyd.
guys get married?
Yeah.
It was years because I met in 1999, and then it was actually 98 was the Christmas party. 99 we went out, and then it was 2006 that we got married.
Wow.
Wow.
It was 2004 we got engaged. I wanted to give it time
Mhm.
because I knew she was younger at the time, and
Good
let
for
her
you.
and even though I'm thinking I know what we want to do, and we kind of know
Let her
this is
grow
where it's
in
going to
some.
be, but
Well,
take the time.
The reason I mentioned that is how amazing how God does give us our blessings.
Mm-hmm.
When we're faithful and we're trying to do things right, He will intervene. And
Yeah,
in your life,
especially
He
His
knew
timing.
exactly what you
Yeah.
needed at the time to bring them closer to Him.
Yeah, but he was willing to be patient. That's another thing. To let something evolve and not impulsive. To be patient on Lord. Let the Lord do it. That's a lot.
Well, usually we take a commercial break, ladies
I
and gentlemen.
wanna
We're
take a
not
break.
going to go. We're going to
Yeah.
continue on. Your story is riveting. But I did want to touch on how your practice and your surrender has grown because of just the foundation of your faith. Because I want you to tell us about your practice. You have a practice in Pasadena called RejuvaYou Medical Center.
Yeah. How did that
Yes,
come about?
You've been featured on Keeping Up with the Kardashians,
I'm honored.
Entertainment Tonight, Forbes magazine. You're on MTV. Tell us a little funny anecdote or something that you can remember regarding these accolades.
Wow, man, and you're on our show. I thought
Yeah.
I was thinking we could have had it before before you worked on me and then afterwards. But
we could do something like that. A follow-up. So
There you go.
yeah, really, it was for about maybe 8-9 years. We started in 2002 doing anti-aging medicine. I started I was doing family medicine at first, but we started adding this anti-aging. I wanted to take people's health and make it better. So anti-aging medicine meant hormones and another wellness, and it wasn't
Wow.
more drugs. It was actually more about natural, bringing that balance back to your body. And lasers popped up at the time, and I thought, hey, this can really work. Some weren't so great. I saw a new technology. I ended up embracing it. I was one of the first to use a certain type of technology when the FDA approved it. I ended up becoming one of the main, speakers for this laser company. It became the largest laser company in the world. I must have done 160 seminars for them across the
Wow.
United States. I was flying all over for them, and I was building up this company.
yeah.
And I thought, gee, we do great work, and I did a lot of myself, and I could train people to do it. But I was sharing with all these other doctors to open up all these laser
practices, yes.
yeah, all their practices. And I thought, I need to put it back towards here. People need to know what I do to my own practice. And then I thought we need, hopefully, just PR. And and just the idea of that, hey, we need to move that direction for some PR. Next thing I know, I get this call. It says, hey, there's a TV show, Keeping with the Kardashians. They want to come by, and we're going to use your office. You do the treatment.
Oh my God!
Okay.
Talk about PR. I mean, God just put you on the straight.
So then we said, okay,
Wow.
well, there's this national thing, and then Entertainment Tonight, and things started rolling out in 2008. So in a
So
way,
when you were on the show, you were doing work for them.
Yeah,
for
Kris Kardashian,
and her
Kris
and
Jenner.
Bruce.
They
So I was
actually-
watching you.
They said
Hey.
Bruce was supposed to come in, but then they said, well, he's going to do more plastic surgery, so they switched it on
Okay.
us, and so only the wife came in. And actually on the show, it was interesting because I thought, oh, too bad we didn't get to do Bruce because I could have helped him. They did too much plastic surgery. I could have used more natural, because everything we do is more natural, so keep you real. I thought I can improve and firm these things up and make the skin more youthful, and so it'll keep them real.
Right.
And so what happens is that on the show, Kris Jenner looks just natural beauty. And when they see her in person, you're looking at her thinking, wow, she really is a beautiful person. Just
She is
God
pretty.
made her this way.
I've known her.
Yeah.
She is beautiful girl.
She's just a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And then on the show, you see that, and she came to see us, and then she says, "Oh," and the daughter's like, "Mom, you look glowing, you're beautiful," and she goes, "Hey, Bruce is going to have more plastic surgery." So on the same show, they showed Chris came to us, did something natural, and she looks great, and Bruce was messed up, and now he's going to do more surgery.
Wow.
And
so that's what took off.
It was actually more contrast to a reasonable person would look and say, I want the natural way,
Right.
which is what we do. RejuvaYou, it's rejuvenation. It's not about cosmetic. Yes, a lot of times it's about how we look that people might first come into us. But to me, inside, I don't want to just create the superficial appearance of it. It's got to actually have enriched the life of this person, actually have edified them, make the quality of their skin or the health better. And that's just as a Christian.
From the Lord.
I
know that's a gift from the Lord.
Yeah, and I figured that is my philosophy behind what we do. You know, other people might have similar technologies they're using, but I look at it kind of like this restaurant. I usually like eating the orange chicken at Panda Express.
I love orange chicken.
And I tell my Asian friends, "Oh yeah, I go to Panda Express," and they look at me and go, "That's not Chinese food."
It's not, because I like.
That's not Chinese food. It's they go, you got to go to like Sam Wu and these other Asian
Right.
places in San Gabriel Valley, and when you eat that, that's very authentic. So if you look, similar ingredients, but the philosophy behind it is different.
All right.
Right?
I see what you're saying.
So in the same way, I'm just like a cook too, but my philosophy is that I want to really rejuvenate the person. I don't want it just to be a superficial fake thing. You can make somebody look plastic fake, but
and it doesn't look good.
down the road, it even if it looked okay, you wasted time
so
for them.
as we age, you can still keep it up and have much more of a natural look than that surgically big lip hands.
Yeah, so that's the thing. A lot of women and men, when you think about doing something, you think, oh, I don't want to look plastic. I don't want to have those lips that look like duckfish lips. I don't want the frozen face. And that's really none of our patients. We've treated probably, 25, 30,000 patients now. I can't keep count of it. And nobody ever comes out of our practice looking that way. There is a proper, responsible way to do these things. And it depends on the philosophy behind that, the belief system. And I look at it, I'm thinking, I want our clients to understand this. I call it the good news of this, and they believe in it. Then they want to share it with other people, just like it's evangelism. Same thing.
Do you still do the work now, since you have or do you have surgeons under you? Or
I have 2 PAs that help with the laser treatments. I do the more invasive surgical things, but everything's about the rejuvenation. If we can help you, we'll do the treatments that'll help you to avoid surgery. So let's say it's your knee, you have arthritis, and they're going to do a knee replacement. Well, we could use platelet-rich plasma and fix the
knee. Okay, so you do
knees.
the whole body. Are you? Never mind, I won't say that because it might not be the same company. But so you're the whole body. You do everything in terms of. So that's why you say it's not cosmetic.
Right.
It's more.
And that's why we call it RejuvaYou.
I like that.
What can we do to make you better? It could be your knees.
Oh,
it could
plenty.
be. It could be.
Well, that
arthritis.
I want to give you guys a plug because I do want to touch on one more thing before we go, and we're running out of time. But it's RejuvaYou. It's RejuvaYou.com where you can find more information. Your practice is in Pasadena. I went there. I got a little bit of Botox, and usually I go someplace else. For the first time, I tried you guys, and even my stepdaughter and my girlfriend. You're like, you look so natural. Well, usually I go and they just blast me with it, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's what it's supposed to be, but it's not. So if you're out there, I want you to find more information. Go to RejuvaYou.com. It is RejuvaYou.com for more information. But I wanted to touch on this because this is amazing. This is your practice.
I love this.
This is, your profession, but yet you're a big sponsor for KKLA. A big sponsor. You were at the men's gathering, which I heard on the radio and wanted to attend. I couldn't attend. We had some prior engagements with my girlfriend this weekend, but it was yesterday at Cottonwood Church. How did that go? Because it sounded amazing. It was a men's gathering. It's the 5th one that they've had.
I've been to every one of them because we're a sponsor. We sponsor the event. People understand to put on these events, they need these sponsors. And to put on that radio show on KKLA, the Christian radio show, they need sponsors too. So we've been with them for about 5 years. We started sponsoring them after my dad passed away. When my dad had his miracle, I heard a radio show and I thought, I'm going to help them. And I didn't know how to do it. I went on the internet. There was no donation line, so I forgot. So, and I had said, we need to keep these things going. So 2 years later, my dad passes away. A few months after that, we started getting these phone calls. They were cold calling me. And I asked them,
This is a ministry, a particular
this is
ministry?
KKLA, the radio station.
KKLA, the radio station.
99.5 FM. And so, and I thought, and finally, after I didn't call them back for 3 times, they just kept persisting. And I talked to the guy finally, and I said, why'd you pick me? How do you know if we're Christian? He goes, we don't. We just, your name just kept coming up in the industry. Your name just kept coming up. I said, but I didn't call you back for 3 weeks in a row that you called. He goes, something just told me I had to keep calling you. I didn't tell him my story, and I thought, it's because I already committed to God 2 years prior.
Wow.
I'm going to do something for this station to keep your word going, and I didn't follow through yet. And so God was like, okay, hey, remember that favor you promised me?
Right.
I'm calling you in on it. And so I said, I have to do this.
Amen.
And I let God put us together. And it's only blessed us. It's expanded the practice more. We've created more jobs. A good proportion of it goes back to the station. And what we see is the sustaining thing. We keep the word going, good programs. It's created jobs. My practice has grown because of it. The practice has to reflect who I am as a person. You don't put business separate from who you are.
That's
No,
right.
it has to reflect you.
It has to be in there. Where I remember we struggled with figuring out, do we open on Sunday or not? And we needed the time. And we ended up with 7 days availability. And then I started struggling with it. And I thought, wait, the 10 Commandments, you're not supposed to open on Sunday. And somebody said, oh, that's being legalistic.
No,
Right.
I was like, well, no, you mean I can pick and choose which 10 Commandment I want to break?
That's very well to say.
No, if it's going to make God happy, I have to do this the right way. And you pray about it, and things work themselves out.
That's
We had
right.
some drama going on with employees. I remember praying, God, give me peace in the practice so we can do your work. And then it took a year, but things worked themselves out. Things got worse, and then it got better, and it was God's time.
Well, that's amazing. The show is coming to a close, and we like to ask this of all of our guests. So
This
I got
was
to ask
incredible.
you,
Thank you, Dr. Shea. I've learned
Dr.
a lot.
Shea,
You're awesome.
Thank you.
what
Floyd
does
and your
joy
son.
in my house mean to you in today's day and age?
That for me, God has to be in the middle of it. And whether it's in your house or where you work or your own business, put God first there, and He'll set your path straight. And I know that the security of we've won at that point. No matter what happens to us, if the business succeeds or fails, it doesn't matter. If you have your home or you lose your home, you had God in the middle of it. No matter what, we win.
Amen.
Wow.
Dr. Shea, I want to thank you for coming on the
so
show.
much. It was beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
Wow.
Joy in my house. I want you to catch us live every Sunday here at noon with life-changing stories of hope and inspiration. And next week, we have Spiro,
Yay.
Celebrate Recovery Leader, giving a topic and a message on amends you're not going to want to miss. This is Joy in my house. You guys have a blessed day.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.